Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers. Yeah.
Cheers.
Enjoying a glass of your Rosso.
Yeah, your Rosso. Oh.
Try not to knock it over whilst I bring it out forward.
Very well done.
Not too clumsy. How is your family? How's everyone doing?
Everybody's fine, thanks God. Everybody's fine, and you know, I live in Siena, and I have to say Siena and Montalcino have been lucky so far, because both the city of Siena and the village of Montalcino haven't been affected so much, so dramatically by the virus and the health crisis. So we kept working in Argiano, we kept working in the agricultural business in Italy, and the rest of the businesses has been locked down until a few weeks ago. Now slowly we are reopening Italy, and again in Siena we just had a few cases of C virus, in Montalcino 0. So we can consider ourselves lucky. My family is totally fine, so thanks God, and we try to be optimistic for the future, of course.
Absolutely.
How are you guys? Everything good? And
yeah, we're all good. Can't complain. Fit and healthy, so
yeah,
really can't complain.
Missing our favourite restaurants, of course. But if that's the worst thing, you feel very lucky to have health, roof over your head, and everything. So yeah, we're very lucky.
That's for sure. We are now reopening the restaurant. We opened the restaurant a week ago, and only regionally we can move. We cannot go from one region to another so far, but at least we can go out and dinner by our favorite restaurant. Yesterday I was in one of my favorite one in Siena, in Mestolo, and long time I didn't see him. For 4 months, we catched up, we drank some good bubbles together, and
Has the one local to you reopened? What's the small town right by you? The little village where they have 2 restaurants.
Amazing views. Yeah.
Sant'Angelo in Colle, that is right. So here we are in Argiano, right on the middle of the hill on the right. If you look on the right, there is this magical little village, and both of them are just reopening the next Monday.
Fantastic.
Of course, it's not easy because they rely on tourism. So you have been to Sant'Angelo in Colle. It's a few homes and 2 restaurants and 1 church. So they rely on tourism. Let's see how it will be.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Right. I think we're ready to kick off, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. So good evening, everyone, and we're really excited to join Bernardino this evening at Argiano in Montalcino. So Argiano actually is a place which is very close to my heart, as I actually spent the 2019 harvest there with Bernardino and his team. So it's wonderful to join you again, Bernardino. And Charlie's now going to briefly explain the format of the webinar, and then we'll begin.
Yes, so good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and buonasera, Bernardino. Bernardino will introduce Argiano, and I'm really excited to hear more about the sustainable and organic practices led under his stewardship. If you have any questions, just please post them in the Q&A. Over to you, Bernardino.
Thank you. Cheers, everybody. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you, Charlie. Thank you, Emma, because 2019 has been one of the most fabulous vintages ever. So you catch.
You're welcome, Bernardino.
Good luck, Charlie.
I don't know if it was for you or chance, but it was a fabulous vintage. So cheers. I'm Bernardino. I direct Argiano, and I'm taking care of the winemaking too. Argiano is a very historical, magical old place, as you probably know. We are in Montalcino. We are in the middle of the hill, of the southwest hill of the village of Montalcino. So the village is 600 meters above the sea level. We are 300 meters above the sea level. facing directly the Mediterranean Sea. So from Siena, you go south, you go up on the hill of Montalcino, then when you go down, you find Argiano direction of the sea. This is a very good location, and Argiano has been here since many centuries. The heart of the place, the most historical part of the place, you may see from the window. This is my window. There's a tower over there. I don't know if you can see it or not. There is a tower that dates back to the 13th century, so Middle Ages. Then on the 16th century, they built the Villa of Argiano, the Renaissance style building of Argiano. And since 1580, they started to be a farm and producer of wine. They were one of the few wineries who immediately joined the Bernardino Sani when in the 19th century he invented the Brunello, the wine made out of only Sangiovese with a long barrel aging. So in 1882, Bernardino Sani created the Brunello. Argiano was part of the 10 wineries who immediately follow. And then in the 1967, Argiano has been a founder of the Consortium of Brunello. At that time, 25 wineries founded the Consortium of Brunello that now have 280 wineries. So there has been a big development recently, but Argiano has always been there. Argiano is a property that is so much of history, rich of history, so much rich of different times, different styles, different periods, that when in 2012 I joined Argiano, and then when in 2013 Lilian and Andrea Esteves, both Argiano, our question has been, what is the style that we have to follow? Because in Argiano there has been a time in the 90s with Giacomo Takis, the fantastic king of Italian winemakers, that was producing fantastic wines, but pretty, let's say, modern in style. Then has been another winemaker, Hans Winding, that was totally different in the style. The wines from the 60s and in the 70s has been different. So when Esteves, when Andrea, both Argiano, and in 2013 we did a meeting, we started to ask ourselves, what is the road, the way that we need to follow? And we all decided that the most important thing of Argiano is the terroir. Argiano is lucky because, as I was saying, is in the middle of the hill, so 300 meters above the sea level. It means that you are just in the right position in order to make a full body but very elegant wines. If you are lower, you make wines that are powerful but they may lack of some nose, some elegance. If you are higher in altitude, you make fantastic pure expression of Sangiovese, very flowerful in the nose, but they may lack of some structure. Argiano in this position allows you to make full body wines, but also very elegant, very well refined. At the same time, Argiano has, as I was saying, is positioned in the part of the hill of Montalcino that goes on the Mediterranean Sea. And thousands of years ago here, there was the sea. So the soils are created by the sea that left a lot of shells like the one you have, exactly, very well, very well. So we
I stole them from you.
We have thousands of these. We even have a whale skeleton that was found in these vineyards in the 80s. So these shells created soils that are very rich in limestones. So the limestones is given by the sea that was here before. Then there is a lot of clay, because this is the main part of the soil is made of clays. And then there is the Vulcan, the Monte Amiata, that is a mountain that is just here on the left, that left metals on the soil, iron especially. So this mixture, especially the clays and the limestones, create an effect that again give power and elegance. The clays are very fundamental to have a powerful Sangiovese, full of structure. The limestones, like it happened in some part of the Langhe, in Barolo, like it happened in Burgundy, Montrachet, and many of the most important places in Burgundy, are responsible for the elegance in the wine. Especially in the Sangiovese, they give the vertical structure to the wine, and they give the sapidity. So this, in our opinion, was the perfect condition to create extremely elegant and long-aging Brunellos. And indeed, when we started to taste the wines of Argiano, we found out that back in the 70s, they were making extremely elegant and long-aging and very classy Brunello di Montalcino. So our inspiration was not the 90s, was not the later 2000, the later 90s, early 2000. It was the 70, the 79, the 77 Brunello. We decided that that was the inspiration. So in order to do these kind of wines, we started, first of all, banning chemical fertilizer in the vines. This is mostly because we wanted our roots to go very deep in the soil. So banning the use of chemical fertilizers, so we started in 2012, pushed in a certain way the roots more down in the soil to look for food. Then we started to ban chemical pesticides, because we wanted our vines to be in perfect balance with the environment. We didn't want to push too much the vines. We wanted a Sangiovese that is not too concentrated, that is in balance. And also we wanted our vines, since we are in a magic terroir where it's pretty easy to do wine, we wanted our wines to be in perfect balance with the nature. So we started also to plant different kinds of herbs, flowers, plants in each different soil. We started to make honey with wild bees from the vineyards, from the Vigna del Suolo especially. We started to work the soil in order to be very alive, very open. The ground is open, and there's a lot of organic materials and microorganisms. So all this led to become organic in 2015. And then in 2015, we also decided to make a micro mapping of all our vineyards. Argiano used to be a huge estate. It used to be thousands of hectares. What is now Argiano is 120 hectares estate. So the old owners, the Gaetani Lovatelli family, sold the majority of the vines, the vineyards and the lands, and they kept for them the heart, what they thought it was the best part. So 120 hectares divided into vineyards, olive trees, and a lot of forest. Like it is, this is the beauty of Montalcino. The forest is 50%, 60% of the total area of Montalcino. So a lot of trees, and this is very helpful for the environment. So Argiano now is 58 hectares. We did micro map all the vineyards in order to discover what were the best micro terroir of the estate of Argiano. I don't know if you can see, but maybe yes, maybe not. This is the...
We can see that well. That's great, Bernardino.
This is the map of the vineyard of Argiano. This is Argiano, where we are. And as you see, the wood is here, the forest is here, the forest is here. The direction, this is north-south, so direction the southwest side is a plateau, is a platform, and it goes from 280 to 320 meters above the sea level. All that you see colored in red is the Sangiovese. And the Sangiovese, the best Sangiovese is this area, the northern part of the estate. Is the northern part of the estate that is the richest in limestones. And in this northwest part of the estate, we did find out 6 micro terroirs, 6 polygons that are maybe you see here in this area, and each has a map that if anybody wants, we can send them. We can send. Each polygon has a different soil profile. We did digs of 3 meters to study the soil with Pedro Parra, that is a famous terroir expert from Chile. And we did measure the component of limestones, the clays, the electroconductivity, the water, how much water there was, and how the roots goes down. And based on this, we find out that there are 6 areas of Argiano that are totally different from each other. So we started to ferment those different areas and aging those different vineyards, those different Sangiovese in a separate way, using cement tanks, natural cement tanks, and then using big barrel for the aging of the Sangiovese. So we decided to switch from smaller casks for the aging of Sangiovese to the traditional botti, from 1,000 to 5,000 liters. So traditional aging, because we wanted to respect again the terroir.
Mm-hmm.
But just to jump in just on that point, just you've had a few people saying that they would love to firstly have your maps first of all, and so we'll definitely send that out to everyone asking, and we can send it out to anyone else who would be interested to have it. And just to link in just from what you were saying there, Lord Pecci of the Jason Aston restaurants was just asking about organic as well, linking into what you were saying, just about whether you're certified organic or if you're not, why you're not, and whether it's fully organic practices.
We started without being certified, because this was not a marketing idea. This was really a way to me and to us, especially for our agronomist Francesco, to have a true expression of terroir in the vines. But then in 2015-16, we did apply for the certification, because many people were asking if you are organic, why you are not certified. So from 2000, it takes 3 years. In 2019, we got the certification of organic farmers. So we do have the certification. But I don't like to use that, because it's like Romane Conti. They are not putting I'm certified organic or biodynamic. I'm not saying that I'm Romane Conti, but I to have the top example. It's the thing is we are in a fantastic environment. We want to respect it. We want our vines that are in balance with the environment, and we want to make terroir wines. So this is why we are organic. And being organic and using the old clones of Sangiovese, and also using some techniques, especially in the summertime and in the springtime, that are totally natural, like planting different flowers and plants in each different soil, was very good also for contrasting the global warming. As you know, we all face a time of extremely global warming and extremely crazy weather. And in the vineyard especially, there are 2 moments that are becoming very difficult. Not only in Argiano, pretty much all over in Italy, in France, in Spain, we see that the winters are usually more warmer than before. At least in Italy, usually in Montalcino it was snowing, now almost no snow, and just a few days of cold, but very rare. So what happened is that the vines start the season much earlier than before. Then usually in the end of March, early April, mid-April, we always have North Arctic winds and currents that brings some days of extreme cold. And this for the budding, I think, yes, the buds can be a problem. This can be a risky situation for the buds. So if the vines start too early, the activity, they make a lot of buds, and then when this cool climate arrive, they go in crisis. So having vines that are not pushed and are in balance is allowing us to contrast this. And having deeper roots is very important in August. Every summer in August, we always have some days of extreme hot that before was impossible to imagine. When I was a kid in Siena, having 40 degrees was out of the world. I remember if it was happening, my grandmother would say, "I'm going to die," or "I'm going." Now we have always weeks of almost every day, in the middle of the day, 39, 40. Yeah. If your roots are not deep, you have a lot of risk of your vines that are going to dry up. So being organic is also very important, in my opinion, is also very important for this. And using the old clones of Sangiovese, the original one that were planted in Montalcino, is very important because the selected one are selected to have more concentration, more alcohol, more sugar, more that. And with this extreme weather, they don't balance themselves. The old ones have always been here, and they know much better how to adapt to this extreme weather. Yeah. Sorry for this.
No, it's perfect. It's really interesting.
And it's hard to say it, but it's until you've been somewhere, you can't really kind of necessarily capture quite the way in which you work. And I was just so amazed, both for the organic practices, but your sustainability. You're always, the amount of attention that you and Francesco together put into the vineyards and focusing on sustainability, the future. I mean, if I'm correct, your no single-use plastic, kind of the little amounts of water that you use the least possible. And then also in the vineyards, I remember you buying mosquitoes. I don't know whether it's a common thing, but I'd never heard of it before. The idea of buying in mosquitoes to attack the bad insects that attack the grapes, essentially, so that you can kind of think of all these different ways. I mean, who buys mosquitoes? It's just not normal to me, but it's incredible. And yeah, sorry, I just had to say that.
I'm happy that you like the experience, and as you know, my colleague Francesco is very in love with this place and spend a lot of time in the vines, and this is the most important thing in the end. Beside that, there is also the winemaking part that is important, but again, we try to be as gentle as possible with the winemaking techniques, because we didn't want to change the wine profiles because of the winemaker hand. We wanted to make, especially with Brunello and Rosso di Montalcino, wines that are true to the terroir and expression of what the grapes are. So the fermentation for the Sangiovese, for the Brunello, happens for the best vines in cement, natural cement tanks, and for the rest of the Sangiovese in stainless tanks. We usually do 2 weeks of fermentation maceration process with very gentle extraction. We don't want to do too many délestage or techniques that are made to extract a lot. We try to respect the grape profile. And then we do age the Brunello di Montalcino separately. Each vineyard is separately aged for 24 months in the vintages that are not full of concentration, 36 months in the vintages that are much richer. So, for example, 2016, 2019, 2015, we did an aging, a longer aging in barrel. 2014 that had a softer profile, did only 2 years in wood. After that, we do the blend. We put again the wine in cement to put it together and to make it more open, because the cement is very helpful for this. And then we bottle the wine. I see a question of the concrete.
There's a few questions here. So we'll ask one question, just going back to before about organic and biodynamic. Would you consider biodynamic as well? Just going back to that one.
So,
your thoughts on biodynamic?
do you hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Biodynamic, it's beautiful. I have been visiting Nicolas Joly of the La Curée de Serran. I have friends that are biodynamic. The only thing is that it's like a religion. So you need to firmly believe in these techniques, because some of them may sound a little bit almost esoteric, because they took the astrology and many other things, and it's like homeopathic medicine. So there are many concepts like the dilution concept, or the use of similar compost to cure the illness. There are many things that you need either to firmly believe in it or better not to do. So if I'm not the agronomist, it's Francesco the agronomist. If I was the owner of Argiano, I may be considering it if I was the one who was curating the vines. Since we do have to work also on procedures, because we have our workers, we have Francesco the agronomist, we prefer for the moment to be organic and to study maybe a little bit better the biodynamic before to say we are going to use and be biodynamic. And this is what I, yeah.
Just to link into the winemaking, as you were saying before, what do you think? We have a question from Alexander. What are the benefits of concrete on Sangiovese?
So concrete was an element that before was used a lot in the winemaking in the 70s, in the 80s. Then it disappeared because stainless is easier to clean, and of course is easier to move around. So in the industrial winemaking, stainless steel substituted the concrete and the cement. But the cement has a lot of qualities. The first and most important one is that for the aging of the wine, the cement doesn't have a reduction effect on the wine. The stainless steel with electric charges has a reductive effect on the wine. So if the same wine has been in cement or in stainless for 1 month, you will smell the one in stainless much more close, the one in cement more open and more fruity. This is for sure true. Then there is the fermentation part. So fermentation, the cement in fermentation, especially what we use now, the egg-shaped tank, have been trendy again thanks to the biodynamic, exactly, because the cement tank is and the egg shape allow a natural movement of the wine during fermentation. Because of the carbonic gas, it's almost like having a natural pumping over that keep going. And so these also help the wine to have an extraction of fruit and flavors, but very gentle wine. So this is why, for example, many wineries, including, I don't know, Cheval Blanc, did the new cellar all in cement egg shape.
And your eggs, Bernardino, your eggs are so impressive. I've never seen eggs that size. I mean, why did you choose to go for, what size is the eggs, and what made you choose to go for that size of eggs? You've only got 2 or 3 of them though, rather than a lot of smaller ones.
We do have the new ones are 6, because we do have 6 micro terroir. So what we found out are the best vineyards, 6 of them, and we choose the dimension based on the quantity that we intended to produce in each vineyard. So that each of these 6 micro terroir is now fermented in in its own cement tank. This is the reason. But of course, it's still it's keep going. I mean, you have to study and practice, because this is what is important. So we are still practicing, we are still studying on the cement effect, but so far we have very good results. Also, we did start to age. We went back to age from last year the wines of Argiano in the old Renaissance cellar. So maybe later on we see the video. We did the villa, the main building of Argiano needed a severe restoration. So in 16 we started doing the roof, and then we started to do the old cellar that has been there from the 16th century, but it was covered with molds and no more so safe for the aging of the wine. So when in 2000, again, in order to have open, straight, flowerful Sangiovese, we didn't want any environmental thing to affect the aging of the wine. So we started to age the wine in another area, and we started the restoration of the cellar, of the old cellar. It ended last year, and it now dedicated for one side to the aging of the best Sangiovese, and for one side to the library that includes some bottles of Andrea Esteves. So we have a beautiful collection of Chateau d'Yquem from 1927 to now, all the Premier Grand Cru Grasset from the 90s to now, La Flève, the Burgundy guys, and then all the Argiano, the 70s, the 60s, some bottles of the 60s, the 80s, the 90s wines of Argiano. And it's a beautiful, fascinating place. The beauty is probably the most important thing in Argiano. It's a fantastic area to make wine because it's beautiful, the environment.
It's spectacular.
Sounds like hedonism almost.
Yeah, yeah. If anyone's seen the wall at Hedonism, where there is just the whole wall of Yquem, essentially they have that also in the cellar at Argiano too. So highly recommend, if you do get the chance to go visit. It's well, the whole place is just spectacular.
Everybody, of course, now is not a good moment to stay there, but everybody is more than welcome to visit us. We hope to be back soon in normal life, and in a normal world. Everybody is more than welcome. You can pass my contacts to everybody, and I will be glad to taste the wines together in the old cellar.
That's really kind.
Fantastic.
So Bernardino, would you prefer to maybe walk us through the wines first that you do, or do you want us to show the video of Argiano?
We can speak a little bit about the wine, and then we go for the video.
Perfect. Amazing.
So the production of Argiano is divided in two sides, basically. And the reason is that in the 90s, the owner of Argiano was Noemi Incisa della Rocchetta, Noemi Cinzano Marone, and she was very friend with Niccolò Incisa della Rocchetta. Niccolò Incisa della Rocchetta is the owner of Sassicaia. He introduced to Noemi Giacomo Takis. At that time, Giacomo Takis was considered the father of the Super Tuscan. So he came to consult to Argiano in the 90s, in 90, and he found out some spots with more alluvial soils and some soils that are more rich in clays, and he planted there Cabernet Sauvignon, Petit Verdot, and Merlot. So beside the tradition of Brunello di Montalcino, Argiano is famous to be probably the only and the first estate in Montalcino to make a fantastic Super Tuscan wine. Because Super Tuscany, you think immediately at Bolgheri or some other areas of Tuscany, but in Montalcino, really, Solengo in 95 has been the first famous and iconic Super Tuscan of Montalcino. So there is a production of Solengo and non confunditor that we call NC that goes back to the 90s, and the father of this wine is Giacomo Takis. Solengo is the powerful, big, long-aging wine, and is Cabernet Sauvignon with Petit Verdot, Merlot, and the touch of Sangiovese. Non Confunditor is a younger, fruitier version of Solengo, is Cabernet Sauvignon half with Merlot and Sangiovese. Those are planted, those grapes, in an area that is not good for Sangiovese, so we couldn't do Sangiovese there. Again, this is the map, and you see the colors that are not red. So this, and this side here, and this here. So here we have two rivers. So these soils on the side are more alluvial, and these soils here are more rich in clays. So this is why here we planted the Cabernet Sauvignon. They planted the Cabernet Sauvignon, Petit Verdot, and Merlot, and they started to make those wines. Those are aged in barrique, in smaller casks, in French barrels. 18 months the Solengo, and 9 months the Non Confunditor. Probably if I go here in the window, you can see.
Oh, thank you, Bernardino. We feel like,
I don't know. You see something? You see, this is the area where we have, that one is, for example, the Merlot and the Cabernet, because there is pretty rich in clays. And now I try to show you how it is.
there we go.
There we go.
Oh, wow.
So this is our view. There is the Mediterranean Sea after those hills. That is the old tower of Argiano, and the Monte Amiata is after is that direction. That is Banfi Castle, if you see. And this is Susina. Say hello.
Oh.
So just to show you the beauty of the place, and this is the southern area of Argiano. This is where we make Solengo and Non Confunditor mostly. Then we have the traditional wines that are the Rosso di Montalcino and the Brunello di Montalcino. We do Rosso di Montalcino as we think it was the Sangiovese that our grandfathers used to drink here. So we wanted to make a gastronomic, totally gastronomic Sangiovese and wine, fruity with a nice acidity, nice freshness, and very well integrated tannins, and almost no wood. So we do age the Rosso di Montalcino for 9 months only in 5,000, so the big barrels, Slavonian oak barrels. Then we do the Brunello, the Classico Brunello, that, as I say, is a selection of the best vines of Sangiovese that are in the northern area of the estate. And as I said, we do age the Brunello, depending on the vintage, for 2 years up to 3 years in casks of 1,000 up to 5,000 liters. And the Classico Brunello is always a blend of the best vines. Then we do the Riserva di Brunello in the special vintages, intended to be very long-aging wine, very full-body Sangiovese. And we use the vineyard that is Poggio al Vento vineyard that has the clone of Sangiovese with the highest concentration. So always very powerful wine. And then we do, from last year, from 15 vintage, so now in the market, the Vigna del Suolo. Vigna del Suolo represent our goal, our research to make a truly fabulous expression of the terroir of Argiano. with the study of micro-mapping the vineyards, we came out with the idea that the oldest vineyard, called Vigna del Suolo, 60 plus years old vineyard, had the best soil, kind of soil, to make a beautiful Sangiovese. Not only that, Vigna del Suolo has the oldest clones of Sangiovese. We are studying them and putting a copyright on that, because those are the original clones from Argiano, from the times they were making Brunello in the 19th century, so long time ago. And Vigna del Suolo does age for 2.5 years in Slavonian and French oak barrels of 1,000 up to 20,000 liters, and wants to be a true expression of the terroir of Argiano. Wants to represent, in our idea, the elegance of Argiano, the elegance of the castle of Argiano, the elegance of the terroir of Argiano, and is always different from all the other Sangiovese. Has always a nose that is a little bit more flowerful than the classic red fruit of the Sangiovese, and has always a sapidity, a saltness, soury taste that makes it extremely gastronomic.
Amazing. Right. Gosh, we wish we were there with you, Bernardino. You're making us, thank goodness we have a lovely glass of your wine in front of us.
I have a glass of Rosato that we do for our agriturismo guest this morning.
I was wondering that, but I thought that. I was wondering why it wasn't red. Oh, lovely. Yes, I've had it. It's delicious.
For our friends.
And would you like us to show the video now, Bernardino, before asking you a couple questions before the end?
Yeah, I think it's nice to see the video, because it gives an idea of what is what is Argiano, and I think there is also some picture in the video from the cellar, so it would be nice.
Fantastic. I am not very tech savvy. Give me 2 seconds, and here we go. And I think that should hopefully do it.
Okay.
Getting you back on the Sorry, you can see, like I said, not very tech savvy. How do I get that back onto the full screen with you?
It was, anyway, it was just to give an idea of the cellar, especially, that we saw many pictures of the bottle collection and the old well that was restored. And I saw a question of regarding the two vintages, 15 and 18, because we now have the Brunello 15 and the 18. So the 15 vintage has been really a great one. Pretty warm in the summertime, but winter time was cold, pretty cold. Then in the springtime we had enough rain, and then the summertime was warm and long. So September, October months were very sunny. There was a few days of rains in early October. Some people prefer to harvest before that. We decided that since the vines were a little bit stressed from the hot month of August, we decided to wait for the rain to come and freshen up the vines and the grapes before to harvest. So we ended up harvesting the Brunello di Montalcino in the end, in the second half of October. And I think this was good because we went back to a classic way, and the grape were full of concentration, but also very balanced with extremely digestible tannins, very pretty tannins. So we worked on the nose to be a classic Sangiovese with a cherry, predominant cherry flavors and some spices, a little touch of oak. Beside that, the mouth is full body, but very gastronomic, with this soury taste that is typical from Argiano, and nice, well-integrated tannins. Overall, the 15 vintage has been a great vintage of Montalcino. Again, since it was a warm one, you always have differences between one area and one other, so it's not everywhere, but in general, it's a very good vintage. 2018, the Rosso vintage is more about freshness and fruity and gastronomic wine, because 2018 has been a little bit more rainy in the springtime and early summertime. In some part of Italy, they did have a lot of hailstorm. We were lucky because we just had a hailstorm passing on the north part, so it didn't affect the majority of the vineyards. And we did harvest in the early October month. So the wine doesn't have, and even for the Brunello will be the same, they won't have the concentration of the 15, because overall the vintage was a lighter one. On the Rosso di Montalcino, we decided to make a softer approach, and we prefer to highlight the flavors, the fruity flavors, and the acidity and the freshness, not covering it with too much wood, not concentrating too much the wine. So to make a gastronomic, fresh, straight Sangiovese. Great.
Thanks, Bernardino. After watching that video, I think if we have to go into confinement again, we're just going to drive down to straight to Argiano. We have time for a few more questions. We've got one from Yuri of Daniel Ballou's outpost in London. He asks, so what's the average age of the vines?
So we go from 15 to 65 years old. The average age is around 25, 30 years old.
And someone else asked that question as well, and they were also asking about, do you only use clonal selection for the new generation of vines? That's another question. So do you only use clonal selection for the new vines?
we do use clonal selection for the new vines. We did use for the one that we planted 7 years ago, but we are studying our oldest vines and studying the clones. We did an experimental vineyard this year to study those clones, to replicate them, putting a copyright, because we prefer to use the indigenous clones of Sangiovese and the old ones. This is a project that takes time, but we will get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we have a question from Paul Robino, I think that's the fat duck. Are you using some whole bunch, or do you destem? And if you do, what is the reason?
So we do destem in general because the reason is that the Sangiovese is a grape that is pretty rich in tannins and also sometimes in green tannins, and not too much rich in anthocyans, in color. So if you also use the stem, the green part, you can add more tannicity and can be too much sometimes. But we do some tries, and we will do more in the future, of no destemming, like for example they do in Burgundy with some Pinot Noir, especially in the hot vintages. In the very hot vintages, it's helpful to maintain the freshness for the wine. So it's a good technique when you have a very hot summertime and the vines and the grapes tends to be a little bit too ripe. To refresh it, the use of this no destemming technique is useful, but you need to be very skilled and to experience it, because you risk to make a horrible wine otherwise.
We don't want that. So another question, but just before the question, I just love this comment, which says, "I'm an artist painting trees and love the ethos and description of the landscape there," which I just think. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
And so Stefan at Dinner by Heston was asking, what would you like to see in the future of Argiano?
So this is a great question. I think that we are now arrived to the step one. When we started to work, we had to restore the building, the beautiful building. We had to restore the vines and to treat them differently. We needed to change our winemaking techniques. So we worked for 7 years in order to make, especially for the Brunello, to make a Brunello that is classic, is respecting the terroir, is straight, is open, is not dusty, is not too. I think we reached this step. Now we need to go on step 2, that is really making, especially in the most fabulous vintages, wines that are absolutely outstanding. And I think 2016 vintage with the Vigna del Suolo, for example, we are getting to the point where we really learned how to take the best from the terroir and from that specific vine. But anyway, my most important goal would be for the future of Argiano to be considered really a masterpiece of Sangiovese. It's already the top wineries, it's already the classic Sangiovese, but I would like to be a point of reference for the Sangiovese. This is our goal. We love to make Solengo, we love to make a non confunditur, but the Brunello is if we are Brunello lovers being here.
Of course. And that kind of leads on to our next question, is from Will from Crew World Wine. He asked, what will 15 be like compared to 16 in terms of quality, style, and production size?
So this is a question that for a winemaker and wine producers, we always say the vintage that we sell now is always the best. So nobody
Especially in Bordeaux.
There are differences between the two. 15, as I said, is a fantastic vintage, but more on the warmer side, so more comparable to 12 or to some of the great vintages from hotter summertime. 16 has been cooler, especially in the night. So the wines from the 16th are more long aging and more powerful. The ones from the 15 are more forward and very flowerful and great to drink now. And if you see even the critics, for example, I don't know, James Suckling, that is a Californian wine critic, did love the 15 vintage because he likes these wines that are pretty in your face. Pretty. The 16 being a cooler one with again a fantastic weather like the 15, because cool, cold winter, rainy springtime, then a very long summertime and very hot, but with cooler, much cooler nights. 16 did develop an acidity and tannins that will make it in 20 years better than the 15.
Fantastic. And I'm just trying to rush in a final few questions because we've got a lot left here for you, Bernardino. So we'll just ask the last couple. So one question which you have here was about the benefits of using Slovenian, sorry, I can't speak, oak rather than American or French oak, or what benefits you see from using it.
So it's different in the tannins profile. So in the kind of tannins that they apport to the wine during the aging, the Slovenian is usually the most neutral oak. So it's good, for example, if you want to really preserve the Sangiovese flavor and structure like it is. The French, depending on the forest, because they have different, at least 4 different big forests where they take the wood, but in general has a little bit more, let's say, sweeter profile. It's not sweet, but for sure more gentle profile. For example, we use Slovenian oak and Allier forest oak. That is always making very gentle Sangiovese, very nice, gentle, mild Sangiovese. The American oak has a different, totally different wood and structure. It apports more flavors. So even without, there is also the toasting effect if you toast more or less, but even the one that is not toasted apport more vanilla and gallo tannini flavors to the wine. That is good if you have for example, a Petit Verdot or a wine that is a Cabernet more body. With Sangiovese is not always the best option to us.
Okay. And I think one last question. The Sangiovese in the Solengo, however small quantity, how is it selected?
So it is pretty simple. The Solengo has is always was born as a blend of Cabernet Sauvignon 50, Petit Verdot 25, Merlot 20, and a touch of Old Sangiovese. Giacomo Takis used to select a Brunello because, you know, between the Solengo and the Brunello there is some years of difference for the release point. So now we do sell the Solengo 17, but we still have the Brunello 16 aging in barrels, for example, and the Brunello 17, of course, aging in barrels. So he used to select the Brunello 1-2 years before the vintage of the Solengo, just to give some acidity and some character to the wine. Then Argiano from 2003 decided not to put the Sangiovese anymore in the Solengo and started to add the Syrah. This was planted recently and they started to add Syrah. when we arrived in Argiano, we decided that Syrah was not so our choice, and we took it out, planting Sangiovese, and so we went back to the original recipe of Takis. We usually select a Sangiovese or a Brunello that is 2 years older than the vintage of Solengo that we need to blend.
Okay. And I'm going to throw in one cheeky last question in here, Bernardino. Actually, it's two, but go on. Just a final question on it. That Andrea at La Petite Maison was just asking about the main markets for your wines, and also I just want to throw in about what would be your perfect food pairing for Sangiovese for you.
So the food pairing of Sangiovese, I like to see the Sangiovese of Argiano as a very gastronomic wine. So of course you can when you have the Brunello, you think at the Florentine steak, at the meat, at the pastas with bolognese sauce, lasagne, all this kind of stuff, and it's beautiful. But I did pair the Brunello di Montalcino of Argiano with Mexican food, was delicious, with Lebanese food, was delicious. Even in Asia, we did some good, interesting pairings with roasted pork and spicy pork, because again, especially in the recent vintages, the Brunello of Argiano is trying to be not too much aggressive, pretty elegant in taste, not too oaky. So it is easy to pair with anything except sushi, I would say, sushi. But, with the rest, just adjusting maybe the vintage, because 14 vintage is softer, lighter profile, then you will have 16 that will be much more powerful. So this is a kind of important thing, but beside that, I like to explore and taste Sangiovese of Argiano with different kind of foods.
Amazing.
Great.
And the other question I didn't catch.
It was just your main markets that you work with, just the main markets for Argiano, and I think that's the final one. We'll send you all the other questions.
The main markets is see, we do sell to 47 different markets, and North America is big market for Italian reds. We cover all Europe, UK is great with you, and Italy, of course, domestic, and then in Asia, Singapore, Japan, Taiwan, Hong Kong, Thailand, and a little bit mainland China.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Bernardino. You've taken us away from our flat in London, so thank you very much.
It's always
it's been so good.
Yeah, so thank you.
Thank you very, very much for your company, for your time, thank you everybody, and any question I would love to receive and to answer. The maps I think Riccardo has sent you or will send to you, and everybody's welcome to visit us whenever.
Highly recommend it.
We'll be in London sometime, well,
yeah.
Hopefully.
Fantastic. Thanks very much, Bernardino.
Ciao.
Grazie tante.